Welcome, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Health Bar, which is all about mental health within gaming. As always, we start the show off with my mental health for the week. Now, last week was a really bad week for me, and I was getting a lot better at the end of the last week, which is good. So this week actually has been pretty good to start off with, and kind of through the whole thing, I've gone back to doing a lot of classes with the little one. So he's one, and so I'm a stay-at-home dad, full-time stay-at-home dad. So I go and do all the classes with him, and so we've been swimming this week, and music, and baby sensory class, and so which has been really helpful for me as well, getting out of the house, which has been great. So yeah, that's kind of my mental health. It's actually not a lot to talk about actually with my mental health this week. But coming on to the next thing, what I do talk about is what's happening kind of in the gaming industry. So a bit of gaming news. So this week I actually want to talk about gaming addiction a little bit more, and also kind of give you some facts and figures. It's mainly around here in the UK, these facts and figures, but it is kind of showing you how much the gaming industry has changed within the last few years. They reckon by 2025 the gaming industry could be anywhere near £300 billion worth, which is mind-blowing, because it was in 2019 it was only something like 75 million. So that shows you how much the growth has been. A couple of other really strong facts and figures which I found quite interesting is that around 30% of the gaming community here in the UK admit to having some kind of gaming addiction, where they've skipped a class or not showered or not done anything like that just because they want a game. And also as well, which is a massive figure, the UK gaming population grew by 63% during COVID-19. 63%. I mean, that is actually huge. It's massive. And that's just the UK. So, it does show you that gaming is, I think, helping a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. But also as well, there's a big hindrance there of people that are kind of going into the gaming addiction side of it a bit too much, especially COVID didn't help, but then also COVID has helped the people that have never had that outlet to have an outlet. So it's a real 50-50 in my opinion of kind of what's happened there. But it does show you that the gaming industry is getting huge and it's not going anywhere, and it's just going to get bigger. So it's kind of how we as kind of people will interact with it, I suppose, which is quite exciting, but also a little bit nervous, I suppose. Today though, guys, I'm super stoked to have TeaGreenMoth, so we're going to call her Moth today. She very randomly, actually, I met her. I was playing Smite with Last Marauder, and after my stream I wanted someone to host, someone to raid, and went through and we found her and hosted her, and yeah, we've kind of jumped in each other's streams now and again, and it's awesome to see and find new people within the games that we play, and to have such a real positive attitude. I always look for people that have got a positive attitude, that are very chatty, and are just quite fun, and we found this with her. And so as soon as kind of she knew that I was doing these mental health talks, she messaged me straight away and said, look, can I get involved? And I was like 100% yes. So super excited. So we're here with Moth, and yes, so we'll let her introduce herself a little bit. So welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
No
My name's
problem at all.
Moth. My name's Moth. I have been gaming for the longest time, but I only started streaming January 1st of this year. So New Year's Day, I was like, okay, I want to be consistent and start streaming. So that's how I got into the streaming game.
Perfect.
And as for playing Smite, that's been going on since 2018.
Oh wow,
So a little while, yeah.
that's awesome. So yeah, it is just really, because I'm very new to Smite, and Last Marauder really kind of wanted me to play Smite. It's a game that he loves. He loves MOBAs, and it's kind of not my kind of game, but I still quite enjoy it, don't get me wrong. And it's been a real nice change for me to actually play it. And if people don't know what it is, and I'm sure people, if they don't know, they'll know League of Legends. And Smite is basically League of Legends, but from a third person perspective instead of a top view. Realistically,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I prefer. I never played League, but I played Heroes of the Storm, which is a top-down,
Okay.
and I prefer like the third person because I
Yeah,
feel like I'm actually in the game. So that's
definitely.
how I got attached to that.
Perfect. And how have you found streaming so far then? If you're quite
Streaming
new
has
to
been
streaming.
going, it's amazing. The thing is, I did try to attempt streaming about a year ago,
Okay.
but that was also to tie in when my mental health was not the best either. So I
Okay.
found myself not being very consistent, not being
Yeah.
very happy.
Hmm.
It felt more like I'm doing this because I feel like I have to for
Yeah.
some reason
Yeah.
instead of it for fun and wanting to enjoy myself.
Yeah, of course. And
So,
I think that's really hard, and that's really true because I still know a lot of people that stream, I think, because they feel they have to. And I think as soon as you kind of get over that, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's people that are partnered and obviously they have to stream because it's their job, and but if you're starting and you're not enjoying it, there's something wrong there, in my opinion. I feel that you're not going to be good for yourself, you're not going to be good for other people if you're not enjoying it. Because realistically, the whole idea, for me personally, the whole idea of streaming was I'm gaming anyway, why not stream? And then I found out that, talking to people while gaming helps my mental health out massively. And I used it as a tool to kind of help me out, and it's my therapy. And sometimes it isn't even about the gaming; it's about this whole interaction with people, chatting, and yeah. So I totally get that. If you're not kind of happy, with, and I always see this with games as well. Some people feel like they have to stream certain games, and I'm like, you don't. Stream something you want to enjoy. And people then will come, yes, for the games, don't get me wrong, but then the people that stick around are going to be the people that like you.
yeah, that's the exact thing. It's when you find that group of community
Yeah,
that like you for you, the game kind of comes second.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's good games like, and so I think Smite's a very good game to stream because you've got your kind of break periods to chat to people. So when you're going back obviously to your base, you can then look at the chat and chat to people. And when you're kind of just lane clearing and nothing, so I feel there's a lot of time, and I think it's a really nice game to stream if people like to watch that type of game, because it gives you time. Whereas some games are very full on, and I sometimes go into people's streams. Again, I love going in and just having a look at random people's streams, like during the day. Oh, that name looks good, or that title looks good. Go in, and I sit there for 10-15 minutes, and one, they don't say a word. Or and that's like it's really hard. Or I put something in the chat and they don't reply to the chat, and it's either they're too interested in the game, which is absolutely fine, don't get me wrong, but then maybe just play the game and not stream. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. It can be hard, I know, especially starting out. Me personally, it's only been a couple months
Yeah, of
now.
course, yeah.
When nobody comes, you feel like you're talking to yourself and you're like, oh, am I
Yes.
being annoying? Well, if you have anxiety like I do, you overthink things and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm being really annoying, nobody's gonna
Massively.
watch. Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the thing, if you're streaming, you want to get engagement,
Mm-hmm.
and people can be lurking and join in and
Yes.
stuff, but you want to get like a dynamic and a conversation going with them, so you
Yeah, of
have to
course.
start that.
Yeah. 100%. Actually, it's really interesting. We actually had this conversation last night, I think. And it's really interesting you say it because so my other half, she bought me it was one Christmas or one birthday, I can't remember what it was, but it was Ninja's book. So she bought it
Oh, okay, yeah.
and kind of, bought it, got it for me, and I was reading through it. And one of the sections, and it is really interesting, it's like if you want to become a streamer and you want to kind of become a content creator or whatever it is, you have to learn to talk to yourself. And
Hmm.
you have to learn just to chat, because also as well, the number if you're number watching or your viewer watching on the side of your screen and you're like, oh, there's no one there, there's always a delay in that. So as soon as that number one ticks over, or number two or three or four or whatever it is, as soon as that ticks over, that person could have already left. If you start talking,
Yeah.
then they could have already gone. And this
Yeah.
is like, it is really true. But it's quite funny because I think a lot of people that game, I think, have got mental health issues. I truly believe this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as people that, I don't know, I talk to myself a lot in my head anyway. Well, I don't really talk to myself a lot, but there's a lot going on in my head that I kind of have to go round and rationalize and think about and talk about. And so when it comes to kind of streaming, I kind of find it quite easy to start blurting stuff out. It might not make any sense sometimes, and then that's how I've carried on talking and just chat and chat and chat and chat and chat. And yeah, I think getting to that stage, as you say, is quite difficult. But once you start doing it, I think, and we were talking to someone about this the other day, because he streams and he's only just started streaming, but he doesn't talk. And it's like, you just got to talk all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. There's instances where like I watch Smite Pro players play and stuff, and they're not as talkative because
Yes.
they're showing the game, showing their
Of
build,
course.
showing
Yeah.
that stuff. But for me personally, I'm not at that level at all. So I want to, and streaming for me is more of a interaction with other people rather
Definitely.
than
Yeah.
trying to be very good at the game.
No,
Um,
I totally agree. I agree with that.
And I did want to bring up, you mentioned numbers and like looking at your numbers and stuff.
Yep.
So I had that issue too, where I would look and be like, oh, there's only like one person here. I
Yeah.
don't even know if they're watching. So what I decided to do is I did the pop-out chat on Twitch, and it
Hmm.
doesn't show you people. It
Nice.
it shows you like messages and stuff, but it doesn't show
Doesn't
who's
show that.
watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just had that on the side on my second monitor. So when people are talking, I can respond to them and such, but I don't get in my head about, oh, nobody's
Yeah.
watching.
100%. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That makes loads and loads of sense. And there's a lot of people that say that, and a lot of people say you literally, just turn the viewer count off and blah, blah, blah. And, there's loads of pro tips and things like that. I mean, but then you will find your way of what works for you and what doesn't. Like, I
Yeah.
still have my numbers on. I've gone through turning them on and off and on and off like a lot.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm at the stage where it's back on, and I quite like it. But then again, the other week I had a really big stream and I got raided by a really big UK streamer. So I had
Nice.
loads of numbers and it was like massive, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I had so much fun that day. Like, the stream was brilliant. The night after, it was just a nice vibe with, just chilling out at home, and it was just, I was on a real high. And then the next day I streamed it. It was streaming it was streaming a day I don't normally stream, just because I
Yeah.
had to do other stuff the day I normally stream. So I did that. And going from such a big stream, I ended up then having just two people. And I was
Hmm.
like, wow. So I had two people, I think, for 4 hours. And that actually hit me very hard. And again, it's really weird because I know it shouldn't, because I've been there before and like going through them up and downs.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a weird one. But yeah, at the moment my viewer count is back on, but it might turn off
Good.
soon.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is when you get rated like that and stuff, because I had the same thing where I got rated and
Yeah.
then later you stream and you're like, oh, there's
Yeah.
like you don't have the same
Yes.
amount of people. It can feel kind of bad, but and this is something I learned in therapy is self-reassurance.
Hmm.
Like, oh, thinking it out logically. The reason I had a bunch of people last time is because I got rated. I haven't gotten rated now. It's gonna make
Yes.
sense that I don't have that many people. And
Yeah.
if if I just be myself and I reassure myself and everything, it's gonna be fine. As long as I'm happy with myself and what I'm doing,
Exactly.
you will bring other people, attract
Exactly.
other people.
Massively, massive. So on kind of that, as you were saying there about kind of therapy and things like that,
Mhm.
so how, so for you, when did mental health kind of creep into your life, and then how has gaming either not been good for it or good for it? When did all that start?
So I've struggled with mental health issues at least since teenage years,
Okay.
maybe even before that, my memory's not very good from childhood.
Right. Okay.
Um, so I know that I've struggled with and diagnosed with depression and anxiety
Yeah.
since I was a teenager. And then gaming coming into play, it was a nice relief.
Yeah.
Because you can just transport yourself to another world
Yeah. Definitely.
and don't have to think about what's going on in your real life, is
Yes.
how I saw it.
Yeah.
So I would play solo player games pretty much.
Okay.
Um, I didn't have much interaction with other people,
Yeah.
so it was a little bit of a detriment in that I was a little isolated.
Of course. Yeah.
But I still had my friends at school and stuff when I did get to see them, so
Yeah.
I had that little outlet. But growing up with gaming, I used to sit on my dad's lap and watch him play his PlayStation. So it's pretty much always been in my life,
Yeah.
something I grew up with.
Nice.
And it's funny for me personally, when I was younger, I was definitely a quote unquote tomboy. Like
Okay.
I hung out with the guys because the girls I was around, they didn't really play video
Yeah.
games, so I didn't, that's all I did.
Yeah.
So I didn't have too much in common with them, at least in the elementary school and
Yeah.
such. Um, but then the older I got, the more I found other people who like the same stuff, like boys, girls, non-binary, just everyone
Yeah.
enjoyed gaming and stuff, and I found more people who liked it as well.
Nice.
Um, so we would talk about it, but again, I would only play solo player games, so it wasn't like duo queuing or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And then my first experience with multiplayer games was WoW, World of
Oh,
Warcraft.
well, okay. Yeah.
And speaking of addiction earlier in the podcast,
Yeah.
I got addicted to that game.
Oh,
Like,
really?
it took over my life. I would sleep, go to school, come home and just grind WoW out. And that's
Wow.
all I did.
That's
And while I'm at school, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home
thinking
so I can
about it.
just
Yeah.
hop on the computer and play WoW. And that was not good for my mental health,
Yeah. I
obviously.
can
I'm not
imagine.
taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And that's an issue with depression for me anyway, is not taking care of myself. So when I
Yeah.
have something that I hyperfixate on, along with not having the energy to take care of myself, that's just together that is a storm,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. It's actually really interesting. There's a lot through a lot of these. There's a lot of similarities that are coming out for a lot of people, and it is. And I admitted when because I actually had a breakdown like a few years ago, and that to me was just it was horrendous. But it was that whole thing of not being able to get out of bed, not being able to get in the shower, not being able to go out for a
Yep.
walk, not being and it was. And I always say it was so hard, like for me, but for my other half, it must have been brutal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really tough. And again, I still go through them days, and I think a lot of people still do. Don't get me wrong, there are people that have done really well, and got as clear as mental health as they possibly can. But mine, I don't think mine's ever going to go. It's always going to be there. The issues that I have, my depression and anxiety, but it's how I deal with them, and so I know there's going to be down days.
Yeah.
And then when there's down days, my other half, knows when my down days are and kind of knows how to tiptoe around me. I suppose tiptoe is not the right word, but you know what I mean. It's that type of thing,
Yeah.
and to try and help me and push me, but not push me too much. And it's all of that, and it is true. You really don't look after yourself when things are going bad. And someone said on one of the other podcasts, which has kept with me for quite a while, was he turned around and said that it's crazy that we go to the gym and we work out, or we go and look after our bodies by eating healthy, but when it comes to our brains, like no one really does anything to keep them healthy, which is really interesting. Like that really has stuck with me. It is very true that everyone does all these things to kind of keep your body, but your brain is the most important thing you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it's because it's not with your body, you can physically see and be able to tell if there's an illness or something going
Yeah.
wrong. But with your mind, you can't
No.
look at someone else and know what's going on.
No.
And I'm so happy you have this podcast and just
Thank you.
talking about mental health and stuff because awareness and talking about it is so important to
Yeah.
get just, I don't know, society to collectively agree, hey, this is something we need to
Yeah.
work on. And just like physical body health, you need mental health as well.
Exactly. And it's actually really nice you saying that. Someone actually messaged me today actually, and they said, look, what you're doing is amazing. I'm not ready to talk about it personally, but can I write something down and you then put it on your podcast? And I'm like, oh my god, yes.
Aww.
Like that. But this is the thing, like I want people to be like that, because for me, even if they're not talking to me about it, they're starting to open up. And even if it's that letter, even if it's, again, someone going to their best friend or their mum or partner or dad or whoever, guardian, and just going, look, I actually am having a problem, or you know, that thing, if you and me from this podcast can reach out to one person, it would be the best thing in the whole entire world. And I do say it every time, I just don't want people to go through kind of what I went through, because we're in a new age. There are new medicines, there's new techniques, there's new everything, and you know, people don't have to, you know, there are always ways out. And you know, I just want people to know that, you know.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Totally agree. When I was a teenager going through this, I thought I was the only one
Yeah.
because it wasn't something we talked about.
Yeah.
And I remember delving a little deep. I had suicidal ideation, right? So it got to the point where I had attempted, and
Yeah.
that was the moment I was like, I probably need to get help.
Yes.
If it's come to this point.
Yeah, definitely.
And as a child, you know, it takes a lot to get there because I'm not fully developed in mentally.
Yeah, of course.
So I remember reaching out to my mom and telling her I think I might be depressed.
Yeah.
And she responded with, "You are just a teenager. Everyone feels like that."
Wow. Yeah.
So that was not good.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
But that's
imagine.
why I like these podcasts and this awareness to let people know, hey, that's not the right way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, other people go through this. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And I was in that state. Like I said, I was so low. I had awful mental health.
Yeah.
To get to this state where I'm actually like happy more often than I'm not.
Yeah.
And of course, I still have down days. I don't think it ever goes away. That's just,
I agree. Yep.
it's like a virus, you know, you don't get rid of it.
It's part of you.
It's not a virus,
Yeah.
but, you know. But it's something that I have managed to be able to deal with and get help for and kind of overcome.
Yeah.
And I just want to share that with other people
That's
too.
amazing.
Be like, you can do it too. If I can
Yeah.
do it, and I was at that point, and now I'm here, because I never thought when I was in that state, I'm like, I'm never gonna feel better.
Yeah.
Like, this is just how my life is gonna be.
Yeah.
And this is awful.
Definitely. Definitely. The way you said there, the word I liked is manage. And it really is. You work out how to manage, you know, this situation, this, you know, and I know that it is very true. So mine, I now go, right, okay, to manage this, I need to get up in the morning, make my bed, eat a breakfast, get showered, you know, and it's all these, and it's crazy saying this, and people that don't have any mental health issues won't understand this, but the smallest things of literally getting in the shower or making your bed, or it is such a milestone if you were going through your hardest days. And it is these little milestones, and it's how you manage it. So yeah, you saying that it's how you manage it and how you deal with it, and you know, and it is very much a day-to-day kind of journey. I think when you're going through it, it really, and I even sometimes still think it's a day-to-day now, even though you're still going through a good patch, it's in my, for me, even if I'm going through a good patch, it's right, today's done, the next day let's do it, and it is, you talk to yourself about it and it go, right, today was good or today was bad, so tomorrow will be a better day, and and it is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a learning experience for me was being able to forgive myself when I have down days like that because I expected it, oh, I'm gonna be cured. I'm never gonna
Yeah,
have a bad day
yeah,
again when I get fixed. And it's not a fix, right?
yeah.
So now I have the perception, oh, and what was that word? My therapist taught me about cognitive, kind of
Cognitive
changing your,
therapy. So it's
yeah, a bit.
yeah. We call it here. Oh my god, I can't remember it now. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Exactly what you mean.
Like changing your perspective on
Yeah,
things and realizing this is something I'm going to have to live with. And this, I want to bring up like back then, I'm like, this is so not fair that I have to deal with this. Why do I have to deal with this? It's not fair that it happened to me,
yeah,
so I shouldn't be responsible for fixing it
yeah.
because I didn't
I didn't
create the
create it.
problem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. And then when I have like my lowest days and stuff, and I'm like, I either need to get help or, you know,
yeah,
um, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to get help. So I got on medication
yeah,
and therapy, and that's been kind of a journey for a couple years to
yeah,
see what works. It's not like an immediate, oh, I found it. This
yeah.
is what's
Exactly.
going to
Yeah,
work. Which sucks because when you're already feeling so bad and it's so hard to do anything at all, trying to help yourself get out of a pit like that and find what's going to work is just so much harder.
yeah,
But I, I'm saying like you guys can do it. I believe in you. It's possible. Um, and where was I going? Oh, and so speaking with my therapist now, who I really, really enjoy, and she's taught me about the cognitive therapy. She's like, you'll have to learn to forgive yourself and love yourself and accept yourself and realize this is kind of something that you have to live with. And no,
yeah,
it's not fair, but it's a part of you,
yeah,
and people can choose to get help or live with it, like not helping themselves.
yeah.
So getting help, in my opinion, is the better option.
Definitely, definitely. It's actually,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny you said that again because I was saying that, I think it was over on the last podcast, and I was saying that I do sometimes have the bad down days, and
Mhm.
or you do have the day where you want to do nothing but you kind of have to do something, where you on TikTok or on your phone or whatever, and then after you've had that time, then I get really annoyed with myself because I feel like I've wasted time, and it's
Yep.
really bad. I get really, and then that makes me even worse, and then it's that whole
Mhm.
snowball of then getting more and more depressed, or because I'm like, oh my god, I should have done this and I haven't. That makes me a
Yeah.
bad person. That makes me
Yep.
behind on work, or behind on this and behind on that, and it's true. It is, you really do have to go, take it with a pinch of salt. Yes, okay, you've had a bad day, but it's not your fault. Sometimes
Yeah.
these things just happen, and to work your way out of it, and it's all of that, and there's ways of dealing with it, like mindfulness and all this kind of other stuff, which is good. And again, as Moff said here, is that I think you need to, the first part is obviously always the hardest. It's always the
Mm.
hardest to talk to someone. Like, that is really hard. Like, I randomly, the first person I spoke to was a doctor. Well, I spoke to my other half. She kind of knew, and then I had to ring the doctor. And I went into the doctor's surgery, and she goes, "Right, so what's wrong?" And I burst into tears. That was
Yeah.
it. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god! Like, what the
Mhm.
hell is wrong with me?" And then I realised there was
Yeah.
something wrong, really wrong.
Yeah.
And then we chatted about it, and then medication, and then put me on a waiting list. Obviously, I don't know what it's like in America. We here have obviously the NHS, which is free, but then it's a waiting list of X amount of months before getting to
Mm.
therapy, unless you pay for it yourself, and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. So I've still on medication now, and did go to therapy. I think it was very good to go to start talking about it, but for me, therapy wasn't the answer.
Hmm.
So, but then I know other people that absolutely, and it's quite funny because my sister's a therapist, so I, so she's like, you got to give it a chance, got to give it, and I did. I gave it a really good chance, but it wasn't. And she's like, that's really good that you gave it a chance, but yeah, you are right.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is that hardest thing of getting out and actually talking to someone, and that's the thing that helped me was the therapist helping me start talking about it. And then once I started talking about it, I wanted to talk to everyone about it, not just my therapist. And
Yeah.
that was the hardest thing because I still get looked at like some of my mates that would never talk about mental health ever, and they're like, "Why are you talking about this?" It's like, well, why not? I should be. I've got problems, and if I've got problems, and I'm sure other people have, and let's talk about it. It's not a
Yeah.
taboo subject. But it
That's
shouldn't
the
be.
thing. When you put it as a taboo subject, then that just makes it worse. It makes it hide in the dark, and
Yep.
other people and yourself can't get the help that they need if nobody talks about it.
Exactly. Exactly that. Exactly. So with kind of mental health and then gaming. So as you said,
Hmm.
like how has it been streaming wise with your mental health? How did it kind of you said you started streaming before and then stopped, and then you started. What's different in yourself, and how has it been with your mental health? I suppose.
Yeah, so I did start streaming a year or 2 years ago. I would do little spurts of streaming here and there.
Yeah.
Um, and then it became more of oh, I have to stream. Oh, I have to start streaming this Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to be recognized. I'm not going to have a community. I'm not going to
Right.
be successful if I don't keep up with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I shouldn't have this view. I shouldn't be unhappy about something I'm doing
Yeah.
for fun.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Then it's not
Exactly.
fun
No.
anymore. So I stopped, and around the same time, about a year ago, is when I started to try and get help again because I've
Mm-hmm.
been on and off.
Okay.
Medication wasn't working at that time.
Yeah.
Back then, I was on the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
I had moved away from the therapist that I did like, and the new ones that I was meeting,
We're
I didn't
just
click
not
with.
cutting it. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, let me try again
Yeah.
because I really want to get help. So fortunately, I did some research and I found a doctor in my area that had amazing reviews. And I went to speak with her, and she was so kind. And we talked about my mental health stuff, and she
Yeah.
prescribed me fluoxetine,
Okay.
which is good for anxiety and depression.
Oh, amazing.
So I got on that, and then she helped me find a therapist, which when you're like, at least for me personally, when I'm feeling so low, it was just hard enough for me to make that doctor's appointment,
100%.
right?
I totally get that. Yeah.
So having her be able to help me find more help, like more resources,
Yeah.
was just it was extremely helpful.
That's brilliant.
Um, yeah, she helped me find a therapist, and I immediately clicked with her. Like, she's young like me, she gets these memes, she gets internet
Brilliant.
culture. So it helped a lot. And
Mhm.
that's when my first couple of sessions, actually, I pretty much cried the entire first session.
Yep.
And then the second session, I cried. And then more and more sessions, I stopped crying. I started feeling better. And for me personally, it was probably a mix of the medication and the therapy
Yeah, of course.
and the cognitive restructuring
Yeah.
of being like, hey, I don't have to be so hard on myself,
Yeah.
I know I live with this, and that's how it is, and I can forgive myself when I have down days and dark days. And
Definitely.
it just got so much better after I got that help, to the
Amazing.
point where I'm like, I really do want to try streaming again.
It's awesome.
So yeah,
Absolutely
and I
awesome.
thought the new year, that's perfect time. New
Yep.
year, new me. I'll start, and we'll see how it goes. And if I don't like it, I'm not obligated to do it.
Exactly. Exactly that.
So
Yeah.
then I started, and I do really enjoy it, and I've been able to. Well, one of my goals was to start streaming
Yeah,
again, or trying to start streaming. So when I accomplished that and like started doing that, I felt so much better, and I was able to get other things on my plate, like schooling, going to school. I got a dog, got more responsibilities,
amazing.
and
Yeah,
able to handle more stuff now, because I feel so much better. And back then, I couldn't even think about having anything more than a job.
yeah,
Pretty much, a job was the only thing I could handle at the time.
yeah,
So now being able to stream, and I feel like my personality has become what it should have been all along. Instead of being hidden under my
yeah,
mental illness. Um, and I like being happy and trying to get people talking and interactive.
definitely.
And I, I, I don't know how to describe it, but I was such a positive person who struggled very, very much with mental illness, which seems kind of like
Yeah,
ironic or oxymoronic, right?
yeah,
Um,
uh,
So when I got help for that, I was able to be the happy person that I
be
wanted to
yeah,
be and the positive person
yeah.
and show that through my streaming.
I love that. That's awesome. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah, like stuff like that is great. And you mentioned their goals and
Hmm.
like the little goals, like, and it is like again, I have a lot going on in my head, a lot, and I feel that I get overwhelmed like really easy, and then as soon as the missus turns around and goes, "Well, what have you got to do?" and I tell her the list, and then all of a sudden I'm like, "That's manageable. That's actually not as bad."
Yeah.
But when it's in your head and rolling round and constantly, like I sometimes
Yeah.
can't even get to sleep because it's constantly just going round and round and round and round and round. And
Yeah.
as you say, like that goal of you saying you just wanted to stream, that was a goal.
Yeah.
And and for other people that is like the smallest step in the world, but for you it's like this massive, and it's brilliant, that you come
Hmm.
across and you get it done and you're like, yes. And then it shows because then you're streaming, obviously meet yourself, come on to stuff like this. Like as you say, you got a dog. I'm very excited because I love dogs. I've got a dog. So it's yeah, it's awesome. It's so good, and I love positive, positives coming out of this. And again, we had one of the first podcasts that we done, and we were speaking to a friend of mine, and he was very, very open and admitted, that he, went to kind of, commit suicide and things like that, and obviously didn't, and he never told anyone that he even tried to do it for 5 years. He kept it secret for 5 years. And this is what it is. We just need to talk.
Yeah.
That's it. We need to
Yeah.
talk and open up, and yes, like, and I've always said this. I've never had any suicidal thoughts, but I totally understand how people get to that stage.
Yeah.
Totally get it, but there are ways out.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. I I've struggled with them for pretty much my entire life.
Yeah,
Like my instance of when I was a teenager telling my mom.
yeah,
And then I attempted again one more time as an adult, early 20s. And at that point, I was like, I either need to get help or quote unquote go through with it.
yeah, yeah,
That was
yeah,
my mental state at
yeah.
the
Definitely.
time.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I can't keep living like this.
No.
This is miserable every single day. Like you said, I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
I pretty much just went to my job because it was my obligation. I
Yeah.
needed to make money to pay bills.
Yeah. Of course.
And then I would come home, immediately go to bed.
Yeah.
And that was my life. I lived pretty much in my bed.
Yep.
Um, and that's not a good way to live,
Nope.
That there's so much now being at the state I'm in, I'm like, there's so much beauty in the world. Like there's such awesome things happening. Like plants, fish, pets,
I know, I love
video
the fish
games.
tank behind. Yeah, exactly. But it's true.
There's
There is so much, like so much to see, so much to do, so much, And people do say life is short, and
Mhm.
it really is. Like really, 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 truly is. It is very short, but there is so much to see, so much to do, and yeah, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel to kind of and as you say, kind of gaming kind of helped you kind of do some of your goals, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And the same with myself, like gaming is my therapy. I do stream for my it is quite selfish. I stream obviously for me, to chat to people, and the same with this whole podcast I want to do to obviously help people, but again, this helps me. This is my, like, talk to a therapist. You're my therapist, but it's a chat. It's just
Yeah.
and you just get stuff off your chest. And as I said before, even if you don't talk to me, you don't talk to anyone in our community, and you just hear this randomly, and but talk to someone. Just open up, and talk to someone. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
You'll be surprised when you just make the initial step of just coming out with it, like, hey, I have this problem, or hey, I need help. Like,
Exactly.
it's kind of like a weight gets lifted.
It
You're
really
like,
is.
now I'm open. Now there's a whole new world
Yeah,
open to me, and
definitely.
yeah, yeah. And I'm so grateful that mental health is becoming a lot more of a talked about topic, and
Hmm.
we're recognized, especially
Yes.
by hopefully by governments and like high up officials being
Hmm.
like, this is important. We need to get
Yeah.
our society help.
Yeah. Here in the UK, there are things that are happening, which is very good. But um, my sister, she actually works for the NHS, but is a therapist within that. And the hardest thing is that she sees, after COVID, she sees the amount of people that are actually coming in now, which is even more, and the less resources. And then it's this, here at the NHS, they're very good, but is a time limit, or is a time frame. So yes, I can talk to you,
Mhm.
but you've got 10 minutes, go.
Yeah.
And that's it. And yes, it's very good, but it's very hard, and there's not enough staff, and there's too many people, and so that is very difficult. So here in the UK, yes, they are doing things, but it still has a very long way of going. There's some really good charities and things like that, which is awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, again, and then I'm afraid to say, to get something that's gonna kind of keep going is you're gonna have to pay for it here in the UK, which a lot of people can't afford.
Yeah, that's such a I feel so grateful that I was privileged enough to have the money and the
Yes.
resources to get the help that I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, it not everyone can afford that. Not
No.
everyone can take off the time, or so we definitely need more accessibility, and
Yeah.
just yeah, that's a whole discussion that
Yes.
hopefully hopefully, since more awareness is being brought to light and
Yeah.
more people are coming out like, I need help, we need
Yeah.
these resources for people,
Yeah. Definitely.
that'll help get those resources for people.
I really agree, and this is why I kind of, again, we talk about the whole gaming mental health, and because there are some really good, like, i.e., the Discord that we've just started, it's very small, but again, it's positive people. It's one of them things, and it's positive people. My DMs are literally always open. Anyone wants to chat to me, they just send me a message. And most people are, and that's, again, that's a really good way of dealing with the pressure of, like, doctors and therapists and all that. When they can't deal with it, there are these little pockets of goodness out there. Don't get me wrong, there's some toxic, so obviously pick and choose, please. Don't, but if there is
Yeah.
toxic, just jump on to the next. But there are some very, very good, Discords, people streaming that were always happy. Like, look for, like, mental health chats when people are streaming, the whole lot. And you can just go in, and even if you just watch it and don't talk, that's a good start.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
Yeah, there are communities that are positive.
Yeah.
It's in the gaming community, and I feel like MOBAs especially, it can be hard because you feel like everyone's
Yes.
toxic.
Yep.
But that's not true. There are definitely positive people.
Yep.
Just gotta find them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
It's the same in
yeah.
there's a lot of communities in the gaming industry, isn't there, that you do get these hardcore, I suppose, that will love the game and they'll never go to any other game, and they're the ones that kind of are a little bit toxic with new people coming into
Hmm.
the game. They don't like the new people, or they don't like the old people. There's lots, and but you are right. There is always good, and you always
Hmm.
find good. You will find good at some point. It's
Yeah.
as you say, it's trying to go through, but there are always people there that are going to be good,
Yeah.
and it is just
Yeah.
finding them, and then kind of that's it. So
It's having to wade through the not as good,
yes,
which can be
exactly.
hard.
Yes.
But and then I fell in the trap a little while ago of quote unquote misery loves company,
Yeah.
right? So when I was miserable, I wanted to find other people who were also
Yeah.
miserable,
Yep.
which it doesn't help anyone, you know? It's
No.
That's just feeding into one another, and
Yep.
there's, how should I describe it? Like kind of a bittersweet feeling when you meet people that are like you in that same state and you feed off of each other. You're like, it is the feeling of connection and being not alone,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's the feeling of being unhappy,
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
which is not a good.
It's not because it just makes everyone stay down.
Mhm.
I suppose is the way of saying it. But yeah, you are right. It does make you feel you're not alone, but doesn't help you. So
Yeah,
definitely. So,
yeah.
but as I say before, my DMs are always open. I'm sure if someone wanted to jump in and chat to Moth, then we'll put all her details in on the YouTube channel anyway. So, but yeah, honestly, I really appreciate today. Today's been awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you so much for having me.
no,
This was very, very nice.
it's just to be able to open up and to be able to talk and to talk to as many people as possible, and different
Mhm.
kind of backgrounds, different stories, the whole thing. As I say, I think we've all gone through so many different things, but we're all kind of in the same place, and
Yeah,
that's really nice.
yeah. I've I wanted to bring this up. Have you seen the show BoJack Horseman by chance?
No,
Oh, it's a really, really good animated series on Netflix.
you have to
Um,
remind me that when we finish, and I'll have a look.
it's so good. It handles mental illnesses in a realistic way, in my opinion.
Oh, okay,
And one of the quotes is, "All we have is the connections we make."
that's not
And that sticks with me. Um, and actually, I have a poster on my wall um, from
amazing,
BoJack Horseman. It says, "It gets easier every day. It gets a little easier, but you got to do it every day. That's the hard part." Like,
amazing.
they just have so many good, helpful
I really
quotes.
like that. That's wicked.
Yeah, yeah,
That's really cool, and definitely have a look at that. I would definitely have a look at that.
I'll recommend that.
Yeah, but no, you're right with things like that. Yeah, and it's just finding these little pockets that you can kind of help yourself, and then grow is the kind of the way, isn't it? So, Moth, honestly, thank you so much for this. It's been
Thank you.
it's been brilliant, and I'll sign off and then I'll come chat to you in a minute. But yeah, I appreciate you, Moth, and yes, if anyone does need, obviously, to chat to you should be playing, obviously streaming, so you can always jump in the chat. If not, I'm sure her DMs will be open if anyone does need to chat about anything we've talked about today. But yeah, I will come chat to you in a minute, Moth. But thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Mitt.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So guys, that was freaking awesome. That was so much fun. And again, this is the thing that I've always wanted. I want people to be happy to open up, to talk about things. And I know there are people that aren't happy to open up, but they still want to talk about it. Like I mentioned earlier, someone is going to give me a letter that they're gonna write, and I'm going to read out, or get someone else to read it out. On stream, and that is a way of them opening up very slightly, and the more and more they can do that, the better. And gaming has really helped a lot of people. Even if it is escapism, if it's escapism just to start off with, then that's great. Just be careful on that kind of addiction stage, as Moth said about when she was doing World of Warcraft, so you can kind of creep into these things, so just be careful, and there are people there to talk to. So, but as always, guys, I massively appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, and as always, look after your mental health, and we'll see you next time.